Ready to roll. Okay. Yeah, is everybody okay? Right. So just to let everybody know that has come in that we are recording the session and it's going to be going up on the school website. So this is our third round of past, present, futures. Past, present, future 3. And again, I just want to welcome all our past pupils that are, again, wonderful past pupils who are willing to give up their time. And it's for the students of the school, you know, to show them, give them some advice and tell them what subjects they did and what they did in college, and, you know, kind of to give you an idea as students what to expect. So I'm really, really grateful to my past pupils that are here this evening, and I'll let them do the talking, and we're trying to keep it as casual as possible, as interactive as possible. So if at the end of their talk that you have questions, they are ready to answer those questions. I hope they're ready to answer those questions. They're going to answer the questions and they can put it in. If you're nervous, I told you this today, some of you in class, if you're nervous or shy or whatever it is, you can put it into the chats and you can, we'll get it from there and I'll keep an eye on it. Now, I'll be letting in people and letting out people and whatever else as well during the talk. So there's no problem with that. So we're going to start with John Dignan. And John did his leaving cert in 2019, John, I think, isn't it? Am I correct?
Cheers, yeah.
Yes, lovely. Okay, so John is a newly qualified primary school teacher. So he's going to go through all the bits and pieces about primary school teaching and about maybe a bit about college and things like that as well. So over to you, John.
Thanks, Ms. Hardiman. My name is John. So I'm as Ms. Hardiman just said there, I'm a newly qualified primary teacher. Well, as the story goes, on my first day of primary school, I said that maybe, you know, I would like to be a teacher on my very first day. And from then it kind of snowballed. I was a coach and a ref from my teenage years, and from my TY work experience and my 50-year work experience, I worked in experience in primary schools. Did my leaving cert in 2019. The subjects I did was construction, ag science, DCG and engineering. So I would say the practical subjects, project work, gave me a bit of confidence going into exams. I chose to do the Bachelor of Education in Mary Immaculate College. There's 4 teacher training colleges, I think, in the country: Marino in Dublin, Maynooth, St. Pat's in Dublin, and Mary Immaculate, the place I went to. It's a 4-year course, and the year I did it, it was 473 points. I don't know what it is now. I'd say the grades have been, the points have been inflated due to COVID, but you know, I suppose it's around the 500 mark you'd want to be aiming for to have, you know, peace of mind. So as I said, it was a 4-year course. You do 3 blocks of school placement, and they're kind of the make or break things you do throughout the 4 years. You know, you'll spend the first semester in lecture halls and kind of learning the theorists and the kind of theory behind it, and would say, you know, the paperwork side of it, and then you get a practical flavor of the career, and that's where people, you know, see for themselves if the career is right for them. If I would have one bit of advice for you tonight, is definitely put the career you want or the college course it definitely would, the one you would most prefer, even if you think right now it's out of your, it would mightn't you mightn't get the points for it. Just put it up number 1 on your CEO, for example. Like I put another course as number 1 on my Bachelor of Education. My degree was my second choice. When it comes to accommodation, Mary Immaculate College, the campus is in the city of Limerick. Unlike UL is about 10-15 minutes taxi journey in and out. So it's in Limerick City. So in first year I stayed in student accommodation, which was great. It's a fairly big year. There's about 466 students and there was about 100 lads. But Mary Immaculate, it's a very intimate setting. It's like a big secondary school. So you get to know, you know, that big cohort of people, you know, you get to know them definitely. When it comes to the subjects you do, as a primary teacher, it's the curriculum is very, very vast. You know, it's not like secondary school where you specialize in 2 or 3. You know, you're learning you know, I think it's 12 subjects overall. So I suppose another bit of advice would be keep listening to Miss Hardyman there. You're so lucky to have a great career guidance counselor, and that's really all from me now.
Well, you ended very well, John, anyway. Thanks very much. Anybody have any questions for John? Anybody have any questions? Don't be shy now. Now's the time if you have questions. Anybody, even if you want to put them in the chats, we can take it from there. Anybody have anything? No? Okay, well, what we can also do is if you email on the questions to me, sorry, I didn't put on my video. If you email on the questions to me, I can pass them on to John and we can work from there, if that's okay, John, with you. If anybody has
perfect, yeah.
Is that okay? Because they're a bit shy, I'd say, tonight. Okay, thanks so much, John. That's brilliant. Thank you very much now. I really appreciate it. And we'll move on to the other John now. So this is John Crahan. And John has just finished, correct me if I'm wrong, John, he has just finished Global Commerce in University of Galway. Super, so I'm going to let it you. And he also did his Leaving Cert in 2019, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let him fire ahead now. Brilliant. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Hardyman. Yeah. So, for that introduction to yourself, I did Leaving Cert in 2019, same year as John Dignan. We started the Leaving Cert side things. I did, you know, the core English, Irish, maths, French, my language. Then my choices were business, chemistry, geography, and I started counting as well, kind of external with a few other Leaving Cert students every year. 8 subjects was heavy enough at the time, but had 7 hires and 1 ordinary, so the workload is heavy. And like the first piece of advice I'm going to say, get out there, like, this is the toughest year you will ever do. Like since the Leaving Cert, I think I haven't sat a period of time where I've been as under pressure, stress, whatever. And like I would say, you have to balance it though. The stress is natural because they are the toughest exam you'll ever do. I know your parents saying it to you, your teachers, neighbours, whatever, but they are, trust me, they are the toughest set of exams you'll ever sit. So I would say put the work in to the best you can. And I'll back up what John said. Put your number 1 choice down for CAO. Do not stress about points yet. Whatever you feel you want to go down for life, put that number 1. Put the work in as well with your exams. It'll all come together. That's what I would say. So I would say just put the work in. That's what I'd say. You've got to, as John said, there's some fancy teachers in Galway who will support you. Miss Hardyman, of course, on the career side of thing, and then all your individual subject teachers, they'll help you as much as you can. So you got to give back what they give to you. So that'd be my starting point. I'd say put the work in. After Leaving Cert, I went to NUIG, or University of Galway, as it's now called, and I did Commerce Global Experience. Commerce is a big course. There's definitely 500-600 students in it. The way it's split out, like you have normal commerce, which is a 3-year degree, and then every other iteration of commerce. So commerce with accounting, commerce global experience, commerce with Gaeilge, commerce with French, commerce with Spanish, commerce with German, commerce accounting. They're all 4-year degrees. So for your first 2 years, you all be in together, and then in your 3rd year, that's where fortunately I had the opportunity to have an internship for 6 months in Galway City, and then 6 months studying abroad. And then come back into final year again and sit your final year exams. In first year, I was living in Cara Village, which is the nearest campus accommodation. It's on campus. You have Goldcrest as well, which is there. And since I have left, as a new one, Dunlin, I believe it's called Dunlin. I would say in first year, you should try your best to get the on-campus accommodation. It'll be 99% first years living in those on-campus accommodations. Preference is given to the incoming first years, which will be in August 24, September 24. It's a great way to get to know people from the start. There are other places in Galway, kind of private student accommodations, but they'll be mixed between different years. And as you get older, you'll be likely to be doing just private rental accommodation, where you'll find a house with friends and you're renting one to one landlord. But in first years next year, I would highly recommend to apply for the on-campus accommodation. It's a great way to get to know people. You'd be surrounded by people who are experiencing the same things as you are for the first time, going out for the first time in the city, walking in together, getting to know the campus. And anyway, geez, the campus is lovely. I'm sure on open days or whatever the open day was last weekend, I walked through it myself. Like, there was a great buzz around the place. It's easily accessible. It's in Newcastle, which is a part of the city. You're at max 20-minute walk to Ayr Square, which is the centre of town. The similar to Mary I, the campus is part of the city. It's not, we'd say, out separate like UL, which is kind of, as John said, about 15-20 minutes away from town. NUIG is part of Galway. It is part of the town, and that way you can feel you transition from town to campus to the residential side so easily, which I think is lovely. There's a nice buzz around the place. There'll always be people coming and going. It's a very vibrant campus. Lots of things going on. So at the moment, yeah, I am doing accountancy. So when you do a commerce degree in your final year, you will pick a stream of where you go, and you'll have a fair idea at this stage where you want to go, because in your first 2 or 3 years, you get a taste of everything: accounting, finance, human resources, marketing, economics. Huge spread of modules. I think I sat 48 different classes over the 4 years. I think you do 6 every semester, so you get a nice taste of everything. And by that stage, by final year, you'll have an idea of where you want to go. Choosing commerce in the first place, I think it was when I did Leaving Cert, it was commerce with global experience was 511. Straight commerce, which is a 3-year degree, usually sits around the 420 to 440 mark. But again, if anyone else wants to have an interest in commerce, throw questions in there. Mr. Hardiman will send you on the email. I'm more than happy to answer any questions about that. If you're anyways interested in what's going on in the world in a finance way, if you like to deal with people, HR, if you like advertising, creativity, you can go into marketing. It's such a vast course. And in the first couple of years, I said, you get a taste of everything. You might come into that saying, I like marketing, I like being creative, advertising, and you will have to sit a couple of accounting courses, modules, and you say, I actually like this, and by final year, you could have switched completely. So the fact you're getting such a wide range, you'll have a fair idea of where you want to go by final year. And then look, you don't want to think of employment or anything at this stage, like, but it's a very employable course as well when you're graduate from commerce, especially down the finance and accounting sides. I have a graduate job in Galway City at the moment. I'm fairly sure any student who chose the number side of things has got into a job straight away, which is just a nice peace of mind as well. Well, look, that's pretty much my spiel. If anyone has any questions at all, throw in there. As I said, Ms. Hardiman, more than happy to send all my details and answer any questions at all. So thanks.
It's brilliant. Thanks, John. Thanks very, very much. Anybody have any questions they want to ask John Crahan? Anybody at all? If you have, you can throw it in the chats, or you can, again, like we said, you can say it to me or email it to me, and then I can pass it on to John and we can take it from there. Or if anyone has anything they'd like to say right now. Any questions or anything? No? Okay, we're flying through this one. Thanks very much, John, again. And I'm going to move on to Suzanne Curtin now. And Suzanne did her Leaving Cert in 2008, and she studied environmental health in what was DIT is now TU Dublin. So thanks so much, Suzanne. So I'm going to leave you over to Suzanne now. She's going to talk to you about that course. Okay. And her career now as well, Suzanne. Excuse me.
Yes. So it's a while back, since 2008, since I did my Leaving Cert. So yeah, I did my Leaving Cert 2008. Like that, I went through 5 years of secondary school and didn't know what I wanted to do. I just kind of sailed through and got to Leaving Cert and was like, okay, I need to pick something now. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I kind of had an interest in this course, environmental health. It was a DIT at the time. It's now TU Dublin. So it's a 4-year degree, environmental health. So it was a very, let's say, broad range of modules throughout. And what kind of makes it different from there's a lot of health and safety courses out there, environmental science, but with environmental health, it's specifically for authorised officers. So, for example, the majority of people who qualify in my course would work with the HSE as environmental health officers. So they'd be authorised officers to go in and inspect restaurants, food premises, and they are authorised then to serve notices to shut them down or whatever. So that's the specific difference to that course. There's a similar course in Jordanstown, I think, in the north, but that is specifically to that course. You're an authorised officer. So with the course, it was 4 years with 6 months work placement in third year. So that would have been, I think it ran from like April till August or something like that, and it was paid placement. So I did mine with the HSE at the time as an environmental health officer in Galway. So that would have been quite interesting. After I finished college in 2012, there wasn't really any jobs at the HSE. There was an embargo at the time, but because there was so many varied modules within the course, there was health and safety, there was built environment, looking at like maybe construction side of things. It was very broad that a lot of us got jobs in private industry. So I actually worked in food manufacturing for a good few years in the quality side of things before I secured a job with Dublin City Council. So I'm now working as an environmental health officer with Dublin City Council. So I'm working with them 5.5 years. So mainly what we do is we inspect private rented accommodation in Dublin City to make sure that they're up to standard. So we would be checking like fire safety, lighting, ventilation, that the houses would be structurally sound, and then we would liaise with landlords, and that will say if there's issues for improvement notices. We'd also maybe end up in a court setting with a landlord, different things like that. We'd work very closely with Dublin Fire Brigade for buildings that wouldn't have fire safety. So every day is different. You're meeting different people. We also work a public health side of things. So we are there if a body needs to be exhumed. So that's always a different day in the office. We also work in sanitary services. So we would go to a lot of outdoor events. We would go to a lot of the outdoor concerts in Dublin, making sure that there are enough sanitary services, that there's water supply, that there's enough toilets and all that. So it is a very interesting job. A lot of my colleagues are working as food inspectors as well with the HSE throughout the country. So definitely some other of my class would have gone on and worked in private industry. I have a good friend who's working as a health and safety auditor with Google. So there are all different avenues and paths you can go down. With Dublin City Council now, I've just completed a master's in environmental health and safety, in which they provided as part of my professional development and provided the time for me to do that and all that. So I'm very lucky to be working in an organisation like that that have provided that to me. So definitely that has enhanced my career. So I definitely would recommend it as a career. I know a lot of people are kind of put off going to Dublin, and that it can be quite daunting, but once you're there, you settle in. And I haven't left since I left school, so don't be afraid of it. I suppose accommodation can be off-putting and that, but I definitely think if there's a course that you want to do, it's a course that you wouldn't probably get in any other part of the country unless maybe the north. So I wouldn't let that put you off it. There's a lovely new campus now in TU Dublin, because I've just finished the master's there as well. So it's definitely very promising for the future there. So that's kind of all I have to say.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. Just something in relation to, say, your course. Is there any advice you would give them, say, subject-wise, like for applying for that course? Is there any particular that would help? Yeah. Say
subject that you do in school.
Yes.
Well,
like,
for example,
that would help.
For example, I did construction studies. for my leaving cert, just because I did it. I like, and there was a lot of that, was a big module in the course, and I never would have thought that construction studies would have helped me. But when I went into college and started that year, it was mainly girls that were in my class, and I was so far ahead of them in that module because I'd done it before, and I never thought it was something for use again, you know, and like some of them hadn't a breeze on how to do it, you know. So that was one thing. The first year is there's a good bit of science in it. The 3 science subjects. I had done biology for my leaving cert, but I managed. I was okay. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it was very it was basic, probably similar to your leaving cert science, but I got through it okay. I was fine. So that was kind of my advice. I had done biology as well, so I didn't find that too bad. With the class as well, it was a quite small class. There was about 30 of us, so it was very everyone was very close. Everyone got to know each other, and I think it made it easier, the transition from secondary school to college. It wasn't that daunting because you were just in one small lecture room and everyone got to know each other for the 4 years, and people kind of like that. For example, I was better at the built environment stuff, so, but I mightn't have been as strong at the likes of chemistry or physics. So because you were so close with all of the people in your class, we all helped each other along, you know, because you did have that closeness, because it was like going into your class in school, you know, and you got to know the lecturers and that, so it was very intimate, so it was good.
Brilliant.
I found it a good help. Yeah.
And tell me, in your daily work now, what's your, could you tell me what's of the job, what's your favorite part and what's your least favorite part?
My favorite part is you meet different people every single day, and like I go all over the city now doing inspections of houses. So you're going in meeting people. You know, everyone kind of has a different story. Everyone has a different problem. But you know, it's good. It's good. It's very varied, and like that, we work in our own. Like I will say report to my manager or whatever, but it's very much organize your own schedule and your own. We have a certain target to meet, so many inspections a month, and we organize our diaries to where we want to be in a particular day and like that. So you can kind of organize your day, and if you want to be out all day doing inspections, that's fine. If you want to, then you'll spend a day in the office doing your paperwork. So it's very varied. Like there'd be very rarely I'd be a day sitting in the office 9 to 5. It's kind of in and out. So I find that I do like it. The downside to it is we're probably in a very negative time to be working in, like I'm working in housing. It is a negative time to be working in housing with housing crisis and all that. We probably do take a good bit of backlash. You come across conflict, difficult situations, maybe a sad situation you might go in that people are living in very difficult conditions and there might be children involved and things like that. But like they would be tough days, but then there's a good reward inside of it as well. If you go into a really bad accommodation, a really bad house, and you work to make that house, up to standard, and you see things improve, like it is rewarding, So I do enjoy it. I'm happy, and it's
Brilliant.
great.
That's
I've seen
important.
I've gone to so many concerts.
Oh, I bet you have. That's very good.
That's the nice side of it.
Yeah, that's the plus. The bit you didn't think.
Yes.
That surprised you.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
Yes. No, it's good.
Anybody have any questions for Suzanne? I've questioned her up now enough. Anyone have any questions for Suzanne in relation to environmental health or anything? It's kind of an area that we wouldn't have a whole lot on. Now I have actually the speaker coming in next week about it as well. We had a
Yeah.
lady in about ventilation and health and all that kind of stuff last year too. So it is somewhere, it's an area that I'm trying to, get people in to talk about.
I definitely think with the course, there's an awful lot of avenues you can go down like that. Like I'm in Dublin City Council, obviously, but like a lot of the people I went to college with are with the HSE as food inspectors. Then there are a few that branched out like that are just doing health and safety and like construction or that. One of my friends is environmental health and safety in Google. She's traveling the world. Every time I hear from her, she's in a different part of the world. And like she's has a great job and great opportunities. So there are great opportunities with it. Dublin City Council are great for like that. I've got to do my master's through them, which was a great opportunity. We would have then, like I was saying earlier, we're the authorised officers. We would have a lot of people applying for jobs that have maybe a health and safety degree or maybe have an environmental science degree, but they don't have the authorised officer, environmental health officer, so they can't work with us. So that's the difference, kind of.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have the environmental health degree, you can go down other avenues, not just that, So I would think it's a good course.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Suzanne.
No bother. Good luck to everyone.
Brilliant. Thank you. And if anyone has any questions, Suzanne, if you want,
no bother.
I can give you, if it's okay with Suzanne, I'll give you your email address. They can email
no bother.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So next up, Michelle, if you're there. Are you there, Michelle Murray?
I am.
You are there, and you have lovely pink background, Michelle.
I know.
Michelle is, I can't remember what year you did your Leaving Cert, Michelle, and I wasn't talking to you about it, so I let you tell them. Everything. And Michelle did social care, wasn't it social care? Yes, social care. So you're social care worker, and she works with the National Learning Network, and she works with brain injury. So she's going to give you all the details. And you might have seen Michelle, she's frequenter at our Business and Careers Fair, which just get the plug in here now. Our Business and Careers Fair is on November 16th in the school from 4 to 6 p.m. Just to throw that out there for anyone who's listening. Okay, so I'm going to let Michelle, over to you, Michelle. So now, thanks very much. Okay.
Thanks, Deirdre. And actually, very similar to Suzanne. So I also did my Leaving Cert back in 2008, which was a while ago. I had done TY in the Glenamagie Community School, so I done 6 years there. And my modules were, my extra modules are home ec, biology and French. And from there, then I went on to, it was Athlone IT at the time, for a 4-year degree in social care. So the modules in that then were mainly around abnormal psychology, counselling skills, family law, the self and reflection. We done a module on that every year. Creative studies, because we were looking at developing our ability to have interventions with people. So that would have been in sport, art and drama. And disability and legislation in general around disability within Ireland and the European countries. So social care, like similar to Suzanne, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I didn't know what to put down my CAO, and then I got this brainwave that I wanted to go all the way over to America and work in the Bronx with like homelessness and drug addiction and all of this, and wound up in social care. So instead of making it to America, I started working when I finished my college degree with drug addiction and homelessness in Dublin. Social care, if you are unsure, is good from the perspective that it's very, very broad. So you can work in children's services, in foster care situations. You can work with people with mental health challenges, disability, learning disability, intellectual disability, acquired disability later in life. I've worked in probation services, juvenile offenders, homelessness, drug addiction, and in general youth work. So you can work in a vast array of areas. But I will say there is a very high burnout rate in the social care setting. And a lot of people that I started my college course with haven't stayed with social care. They have moved on to something else, just to give you the good and the bad side of it. It is an area with a lot of conflict and a lot of problem, and sometimes not all the right support. So we would have been advised in college, and anytime that I have a student working under me, just that, you know, kind of, if you're in the harder areas, such as the juvenile offenders or the prison settings, or if you're in mental health settings, kind of the 3-year mark, and then look at changing job. Stay within the same career, but change jobs so you don't get burnout. Now, I done that for a little while. When I was in college, we had 3 work placements, and that was kind of the making or the breaking of your college course. That made the difference whether you got pigeonholed once you completed college or whether you had an option to go into other areas. So I completed my first work placement with the National Learning Network, actually, in Athlone, which is an organisation that works with probation services in Athlone. They have a centre in every county, and they're multinational. They work with people with disabilities, with mental health challenges, with brain injury, so from different walks of life. And generally within LN, you're looking at like your Monday to Friday, office hours 8 to 4:30 type work. With a lot of other areas in social care, you could be looking more at residential or with shift work. For my second year work placement, I then went with the Garda Youth Diversion Programme in Roscommon. So that will be for people that had come to the attention of the guards that were getting a first or second chance or a warning before looking at going to juvenile detention centres. So we were looking at supporting young people that may be coming from challenging families or have already started on the road at 14 or 15 with drug addiction, to look at finding support systems, alternative interests, and just trying to help them stay within the education system and look at getting a qualification or their junior cert or leaving cert in some area. And then for my last placement in college, I went to Trinity House in Oberstown, in Lusk, County Dublin. That's the highest secure detention centre for juvenile offenders in Ireland. And from having done that as a work placement for 6 months, that opened up basically every single avenue for me in Ireland within the social care setting, because if you can work in the most challenging setting, you can work in most areas. So from there then, similar to Suzanne, when I finished my college degree, there was an embargo on. So I started working in a nursing home as a social care leader, trying to develop the model from in the nursing home from medical model to social, or trying to amalgamate that they work together where possible. And from there then, I was still kind of working with the National Learning Network with relief work. So it might be a little bit different now. There is a little bit more work within the social care setting. At the time, I would have been doing relief in Athlone, Portlaoise, Tullamore, Waterford, and then having my main job down in West Ireland. From there, then I went on to the McVery Trust in Dublin, and I worked with I supported people in homelessness with drug addiction, and I worked in a drug rehabilitation centre. Just to give you an idea of how broad social care is. And from there, then, I won't lie, that was very challenging from a mental health perspective. You were taking an awful lot on. They were very much pushing, similar to what one of the gentlemen said earlier on about your leaving cert. You need to find the balance with maintaining your own mental soundness. So having your hobbies, having something to get your head out of the books for a little while or out of work for a little while, be that going to the gym, having an art class, having a social outing, going for a walk, taking up kayaking. It's quite important that you find a balance so that work doesn't become all consuming when you're dealing with a lot of negative work. And then I moved back to West of Ireland with NLN on a mental health programme. And from there, I went into brain injury rehabilitation, and I now coordinate the services for anybody that's had a brain injury in Mayo Roscommon. And it's a lovely job. So the reason I mention that is, as I said, a lot of people I went into my college course with they did burn out. But it can take a little bit of moving around to find an area that suits you. I completed, after my degree, I did a cert in NUI Galway that was leadership and management and social care. And after that, I went on to do a level 7 in Maynooth University that was training and development in continuing adult education. That was my gateway into becoming employed with the National Learning Network. They are a HSE funded organisation, so you get a lot of benefits. And I'm just after completing my Master's in Quality and Safety within the social care setting. Master of Science in Health, Quality and Safety in Social Care. So with that, now that I'm in the brain injury rehabilitation setting, I have an absolutely wonderful job. It is brilliant. I'm working with people from the ages of 18 to 65, people that are in their 30s and 40s that might have had a stroke, a car crash, a sporting accident, people that are in college, people that have started building a house and they have a mortgage, and for some reason they're after having an injury to their head, and they have issues with fatigue or concentration, or they can't return to work yet, or difficulty with anxiety. And my job is to assist them to develop coping mechanisms or skill set, and to manage their injury, to get back to work or get back to college, or identify what alternatives they have if returning isn't an option. And I'm now working with people that want to work with you, people that are interested in progressing themselves, and people that are used to a certain way of life and they want to get back to that way of life. And it's a wonderful job. It's really rewarding. And a lot of areas within the social care, if you look for them, are like that. Some of the people that I would have been in college with went on to become managers of, one girl's manager of Cancer Care West at the moment. Another lady works with Multiple Sclerosis Ireland. So it's not all negative, but if you do the couple of years in the harder areas, it makes you a little bit more favourable when you go into your interviews with potential new employers. So you can work with the HSE, you can work with organisations that are HSE funded, and you can work within private organisations. The social care title, unlike some other degrees, hasn't been protected, but that is starting to change now. Coro is meant to be coming in this year, which will hopefully start to level us out and give social care workers a little bit more recognition, the same as other professionals that also have degrees. Because the title hasn't been protected, you can have a variety of names with the one qualification. So instructor, coordinator, team leader, social care leader, social care worker. So there's a whole variety of things. But when you look at the title for your jobs, go down and look at what's required, and then you'll get an idea whether it's suitable for you or not. And I don't know, Deirdre, I think that's kind of everything I have to say. Maybe a bit too much.
It's brilliant. And you've actually covered everything. I have a few questions here and you've all answered in the middle of it all. So that's brilliant. Thank you so
do like
much,
to talk.
Michelle. Yeah, you covered it all now. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, anybody have any questions? I don't think they have. If you want to put it in the chats, or even at the end, if we're still knocking about, we'll throw a few questions at you. Anything? No? Okay, not at the minute anyway. Okay, Michelle, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And we're moving on to our last person for this evening, because I had a speaker, Daniel Coyne, wants to be here, but unfortunately he can't make it. So Emma, you were there, are you? Emma Scanlon? You're there?
I am, yeah.
Brilliant. Will you fire ahead? So Emma's doing her apprenticeship as a mechanic. So I let her chat away to you there. Okay, Emma?
Yeah, so I finished my apprenticeship, or my leaving cert, in 2020, and I started my apprenticeship in late August or early September, I think, and I'm there the last 3 years. So right now I'm in phase 6 up in Dundalk, and this course, so there's 7 phases in an apprenticeship. So every second phase is a college phase, So your first one would be in the garage for a few months, and then my second phase was actually up in Letterkenny. That lasted 6 months. Then I was back in the garage for another 6 months, and then my phase 4 was in Athlone, and that was 10 weeks long. And then I was back in the garage for another 6 months, and now I'm in Dundalk, and I'll be finished here in about, I've already 3 weeks done, so I have another month left. 6 weeks I have. So yeah, sorry, I'm just.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm just wondering, so you're finished your apprenticeship shortly, is that what you're saying to me?
Yeah, I'll have my
Yeah.
second phase then. I should be finished next year. I'll be qualified mechanic. So
That's brilliant. And I hear you're a very, very good mechanic, is what I'm hearing. Can I ask you a question? I have a few questions for you, particularly, Emma. In relation to your apprenticeship, are there many girls doing apprenticeships in mechanicking?
I know of a few. I've never met any. Like in my last two college phases, there was no girls in the class. This college phase, I'm still the only girl in it. But there's a phase 4 in Dundalk here as well, and there's 2 girls in that. Like I actually haven't talked to them, but I see 2 girls in phase 4. So I actually don't know any personally, but I know of a few girl mechanics. Yeah.
A few.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And can you tell me, you do love this? This is what you love,
I love
is
it. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And can you tell me anything that, say for example, like when you started it, you were always working on cars anyway, so you had a good idea what you were heading into. But was there anything that you didn't expect when you started the apprenticeship?
Didn't expect.
That
I think what I
surprised you?
didn't really expect was people saying no to me. My hardest problem was to actually get the apprenticeship. So I went like for 2 months looking to get an apprenticeship. I went to every garage, asked for apprenticeship. It was hard because it was in the middle of COVID, and they either had someone on or they straight up were telling me like, oh, like it's not really a job for a girl. So I had people say that, and the job I'm in now, I've actually tried my job 3 times before they gave me the job, and they're like, you must really want this. And I was like, I'm telling you, just give me work experience for 2 weeks. And my boss was pretty happy after the 2 weeks, so he took me on and signed me up as apprentice.
And what I'm hearing now is he's afraid you'll ever leave him. That's what I'm hearing now, Emma.
Yeah, he said to me before I went to college that he'd be afraid I leave after I qualify. Yeah.
I have heard that. That is a great thing. Obviously, you're doing something right. Would you recommend it to the students as a career choice, mechanicking?
I would. Yeah, I recommend it. If you love mechanics, if you love working on cars, solving problems, I would definitely recommend it to anyone to do it and to stick with it. Even like it does bog you down. Like, you know, you could be working on a car, things mightn't be going right, like bolts could be breaking, or it just mightn't be going right. You could be under stress to get it out before 6, the customer waiting, and like you would get bogged down, but it doesn't last, you know. Like you definitely there's good points as well. Like it's great when you solve a problem, like it comes in and the customer doesn't know why it's making a noise or why the engine light's on, and you diagnose the problem, you solve it, and it's a great feeling. I get anyways when I find out the problem, and the customer will be very happy. So I'd recommend anyone to definitely stick with it, even if some days are hard. Like the biggest thing is just to stick with it and get through it. And after, like, you can always leave when you qualify. You can go to do something else, or you can always come back to it. It's always a job you'll have. You could still do nixers at home, like jobs while you're doing something else. So.
And what is your intention to stay in Ireland when you've qualified, or are you going to travel with it? Or What do you think?
I'll definitely travel. I'll probably
Mm.
say a couple of years, a year or so, and I'm definitely looking into going to Canada or somewhere.
Brilliant.
Definitely.
Brilliant. That's really
Yeah.
good. Well, thank you very much, Emma. Anybody have any questions for Emma? They're very shy tonight now, so I don't think there'll be any. Oh, I have something in the chats. Okay, somebody has said, what subjects, hang on now a second. It's great to get a few questions. What subjects did you do that helped you, you get into the apprenticeship, and what made you realise mechanics?
Subjects I done construction, engineering, ag, and art. So engineering was obviously a good subject that helped me understand a lot of things before I went into the apprenticeship. And what made me go in, I love to know how cars work. I like taking them apart, putting them back together, and like right now in college we're doing automatic gearboxes, so we're actually stripping the inside of an automatic gearbox, which is very interesting. Like I haven't seen the inside of an automatic gearbox before, but so I
have another question. Is this question for the apprenticeship? Is the course the same regardless of what college you go into? Is that in relation to the apprenticeship? Patrick, is it? Is the course the same as what? Yes, in relation to the apprenticeship. Is the course the same regardless of what college you go into? Do you mean that are you asking that, do you have to go to Dundalk College? Is it for whatever apprenticeship you do? Is that what you mean?
Well, you
They're
get
different.
called. You can't pick the place. So my first place was Letterkenny. That's a 3-hour drive up to Donegal. You can't pick the place. Like I'm from County Galway, obviously, and I get the furthest place away. Then I got Athlone, and now I have Dundalk, so that's 2.5 hours from my house.
Yeah.
So
you just have to go where you're sent, isn't that it?
Yeah, you can always say no. I don't want to go that far. So then they'll give that spot to someone else, and a couple of months later they'll have another spot somewhere else. Like you can't pick the spot where you want to go, but you can decline like the offer, but you just have to wait longer for your apprenticeship.
And someone else has a question here now. Where would you recommend to go to do? Where would you recommend to go to do the apprenticeship?
As in what garage?
As in, I assume, yeah.
Well, I work in an independent garage, so it's not a dealership. I would personally recommend an independent garage, as you get all different cars in you. Certain cars, certain parts will go in them more often than other cars. So if you're working in just a main dealer, you're doing the same thing over and over, as what the other lads have told me that I talked to my class. They're in dealerships and they'd be like, oh, they'll be just doing a lot of warranty work, recalls, a lot of new cars they work on. Like I work on from a range of old cars to like big Sprinter vans, transits. Like you work on a different range of stuff. So I definitely recommend a independent garage. Definitely.
And then there's another one here. Does the garage tell you where to go? No, it's not the garage. It's through
Solus. Yeah,
Solus.
They'll send you out a letter to your house and to your boss, and your boss will be like, "Oh, if you want to go, you can." Like so, Solus will pick basically where you go. So
yeah, that goes for any other apprenticeship. Are there fees to be paid? Is another question here. You pay I think it's half the fees, the college fees, isn't it, when you're attending the college? Something to that effect, isn't it, Emma?
Yeah. So when I done my phase 2 in Letterkenny, that was actually in a training centre. It wasn't a college, so we didn't have any fees to pay for that.
Okay, great.
But Athlone, I went to Athlone IT, and now I'm in DKIT in Dundalk. I have to pay $1,000 for each of them. So that'd be my fees. So
yeah. It's probably around, maybe a bit less than half, but it's like the other fees. Yeah, there are, that does have to be paid. Someone has asked, do you need to do specific subjects to do the apprenticeship?
No, you don't have to know. Just if you have an interest in learning and how it works and you're willing to do it, and I would definitely say, like, don't be afraid to make mistakes, because I've made mistakes and I learned from them, and I think that's the best way to learn. But you don't need any subjects. As long as you've an interest and you love it, and yeah.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Any other questions, guys? Loads of questions for you, Emma. Didn't ask anyone else any questions. Anyone else have a question? Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay, that's good. So I just want to say thanks so much to the guys again. I actually have one thing, John Cron, you didn't mention in yours. Just going back to John Cron again for a second there. He did a placement. Where did you do your placement, John Cron? You might tell them all.
Yeah, I did my placement with DHKN, so they're chartered accountants in Galway City, kind of Tuam Road there. So that was 6 months. That was from June 21 up until Christmas 21. It's a paid internship as well, and that flows into your, if you do global commerce, or that leads into your Erasmus then. So it works well. You have a bit of money then to go abroad for 6 months. And the way it usually works is, if you do anyway about yourself in the internship, they offer you a contract at the end of it for when you graduate. And as I went back, started 6 weeks ago, the grad program, 2 of us out of 4 went back. Like, so if you just get your head in, that's what it's all about. Get your head in the door somewhere, make a name for yourself.
And it was Erasmus you went on that trip to, was it?
Yeah, I suppose it is.
Might tell them about
it's
that
Erasmus,
as
because you're going. If you're going to America, they don't call it Erasmus. They call it study abroad. Erasmus is for the EU countries. So I was in Washington DC for, I suppose it was 4 months, 1 semester, and again that follows your study or your internship. So they set it up well. You work for 6 months, you're earning money. Then January comes around and you're studying abroad for 4 months. And to study abroad, it's study in inverted commas, like you're trying to make the most of it while you're over there. Travel, really. That's what we were doing, like just trying to see as much America as we could for the 4 months we were over there.
Brilliant. It's brilliant to get that opportunity, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. Anyone have any other questions? I see thanks, Emma's up here, and your sister's called you a legend. That's also up there. If anyone else has any other questions or comments to make, we'd appreciate. Oh, somebody else has. Sorry, one more question, Emma. For the mechanics, is there anywhere online to start studying for mechanics, like a website, like the basics of car parts and the basis of cars? Emma, have you any advice for someone who's trying to just kind of get a head start on it?
I'd say easiest spot is YouTube. Honestly, there's loads of people putting up stuff on YouTube of, like, obviously, like, there's some videos that are not great. They'll tell you how to do something and it won't be right, but majority of them are. I'd recommend YouTube definitely to learn anyways the basics of mechanics. But even like if you have your own car, or whatever, your mom's or your dad's, you have an interest, like I say, mess around. Just
Brilliant. Michelle, did you want to hop in there?
I do. If it's not being cheeky, just because I have, like I said earlier on, sometimes I've helped people redirect them in a new course.
Yeah.
There is a young gentleman that had a car crash a couple of years ago. So while we're waiting for things to settle out for him, he completed a level 5, a 1-year level 5 in Westport College of Further Education. And that gave him a good idea whether he could handle the studying or not, what the mechanicking was like, etc., etc. Now, it was on a very basic level, and now he's gone straight into his apprenticeship with the garage. The garage were happier to take him on because he already had some skill sets under him. He'd some of the coursework done, so he had an idea that he was okay to go on and do the apprenticeship. So it's only Westport, it's not that far. But it is 5 days a week, just seeing how there is a big interest in the mechanicking side of things.
Michelle, thank you very much. That's brilliant. Any other questions or comments or anything before I say goodbye? And thanks to our wonderful past pupils. Anybody have anything else to add or anything like that? Second, no, nothing happening. Okay. I just want to say, as I always do, I'm so proud of you all. And thanks so much for giving us your time and, you know, your energies. We know you're all very busy people now, so really, really do appreciate it. And someone is clapping there for you, which is really good. And again, to the students, thanks for coming on. And just to say, that the past pupils here are willing to communicate with you afterwards through email if you have any questions or any issues or problems or anything you want to talk to them about in relation to the different careers that they're in. They will be willing to, I can pass on the messages to them, or can I give them your email addresses? Is that okay? Or do you want me to just pass it on? Whatever suits you, you can let me know anyway. But that's brilliant.